how Jesse and I got connected, and one of the things we did on the 2020 presidential race was we treated Andrew as much as possible as a e-commerce product, which sounds cold and heartless, but we didn't have a big ad budget, right? We actually had no budget. And it was funny because I would go to events, and a lot of the events we were doing were either there's political reporters there or donors or fundraisers who are like more traditional. And they're like, you guys need to be doing more of X. They'd be like, you need to be doing more roundtable events on certain topics. And we would try those. We'd try to do events. We'd sell tickets on them. And no one gave a crap. Like there were so many traditional things. We're like, yeah, everybody says they want that, but no one wants it. And what they did want was rallies. Those went great. They wanted like various donation conversions worked. Some did and some didn't. But like a lot of times if we had a progress bar where people like felt like their donation was moving the needle on something, they cared. If it was just like donate for this random politician, it was less exciting. So I guess my point was that it's almost like you end up building this brand almost solely on the voices of the customer, right? Like, is that like you end up with this product that you know is going to sell because it's literally like evolved out of popular demand. And that's what we felt. Do you guys feel that when you do this?
You did a much better job at it than I ever have. But yes, that I think that's exactly how it works.
Yeah.
So we stop cursing was a fun one. We're like, when Yank curses, like he gets a lot more clicks. People like it a lot more. So maybe, let's find a balance.
I think people are just starting to see the power of all this. I mean, you think about something like AMC, and I will always be one course, international film too. I will always be one course away from a film studies major. So I'm personally rooting hard for movie theaters to recover. But like, this crazy feedback loop of, Twitter latched onto AMC as a name. AMC actually completed $1 billion financing as a result. And now the odds that AMC is, continues to exist as a go forward, going concern is much higher than it was previously. And so like it's, there's, people always like to talk, and I came from the investment side. I get it, the fundamentals of the situation and the this and that. But, I think you're seeing there's feedback loops here where actually like it can make its, the digital stuff can sort of make its own reality. It's not just sort of one-way communication of what's going on.
So one of my concerns here, there's only a select number of companies, and one of them in particular, Facebook, that you can actually advertise with and do this. And Facebook as the first mover, and realistically, the platform they created is like the best mover besides, I guess our MySpace and a few others. But once one is built, it's very tough to replace it because it becomes the fabric of society and how we're all connected. But like right now in like political campaigns and causes cannot use Facebook to advertise. And they're toast. Like they literally have no other option to get into the internet of marketing, which is where all marketing is right now, essentially. So thoughts on Facebook's role here and what that looks like? Is that sustainable going forward? Have you found other effective options to sell your products outside of Facebook? I know you mentioned a bunch, but it doesn't sound like they were a key player. Melanie, I'll start with you, but like, what are your thoughts on Facebook's role here?
Yeah, I mean, where my mind went while you were speaking is the iOS updates. I don't know if that's something that you guys have talked about, or Jesse's wincing.
Explain it. I haven't talked about it on the podcast. Like the new iPhone updates.
Apple is rolling out new iOS 14, a new update to your iPhone. And that'll roll out throughout the course of the year. So it's not going to be like a one and done, bam, immediate thing. But when you get that notification to update your phone, and you update it, usually do it overnight, whatever. When you're done updating, there will now be a pop-up that basically will say something along the lines of, do you want to opt in to allow brands or companies or advertisers to trace your activities? That is a default right now. So if you have an iPhone, it's like, but unless you go to settings and opt out,
not opt in.
Correct. Right. Currently, right now, you're in it, and you have to go find it buried in settings to opt out. The new iOS 14 is going to opt everyone out, and you have to click to opt in.
Okay.
Now, I don't think a lot of people are going to click to opt into that, right? And that is basically going to, or has the potential to really destroy, or at least severely mess with the Facebook, business platform, when you can't trace the customers, I mean, we don't just like send swimsuit ads into the wild, right? Like we use Facebook to target women, first of all, women, because that's all the product we sell, who are likely to buy a swimsuit. And that is what has kept our customer acquisition costs low. It's what has enabled us to scale as a good business. And if those acquisition costs go up because suddenly we're targeting you, I mean, like you can buy a women's swimsuit if you want, but you're less likely.
You said the term likely to buy a swimsuit. That's not simple. That's probably what, thousands of data points that Facebook's right.
I mean, that's why I love Facebook.
I think the other thing you see happening at the same time is, for a long time we've kind of had the top of funnel digital spend to ourselves because the traditional branded advertisers have been content to hang out on TV, and I think you're seeing both what Apple's doing, California rolling out the CCPA last year. You're seeing those things which are shifting, the ability to target ads, and at the same time, you're seeing TV inventory really start to crater to the point where Super Bowl weekend. Super Bowl weekend's usually not a big deal for e-commerce advertisers. There's periods in the year where ad rates spike and you're sort of kicked out. It's harder to spend efficiently in the auction, and then there's periods where there aren't. This was the first year Super Bowl weekend was awful. You could just feel a lot of sort of more traditional brand advertisers who are used to stepping up their marketing spend around the Super Bowl sort of flex into the Facebook auction.
They put their money in digital.
Yeah, exactly. They have to, because what they've been doing for years is they've just been bidding up that they've been burying their heads in the sand and bidding up the value of the TV impressions, and just not putting much into digital. And so you could see these two, honestly, not in ways that are great for me, but you could see these two things come together, which is if on the one hand, a lot of the targeting capabilities of, Facebook and other platforms are restricted. And on the other hand, the offline inventory is finally just melting down to the point that that traditional advertisers are forced with their noses held to spend more on digital. That these things just, become sort of traditional brand marketing platforms, which has all the privacy benefits that you'd imagine, but also have the downside of less relevant ad impressions for consumers. So you just start seeing tight ads the way that TV's born.
Offline inventory, I'm assuming, is cable TV ads or broadcast
That's the biggest,
TV ads or billboards, that sort of thing, and not so online inventory would be what we're talking about, like Facebook, Google, that sort of thing. So on one hand, Facebook existence is very, very good for smaller companies like you.
Yes.
And I think as a consumer, the smaller companies are amazing because I know the brand, I feel the brand. We've used brands. There's one called Outer Known that's actually a sponsor here for our podcast that we love. There's a bunch. I love these brands. There's a company called Grayson I love. I think they make great pullovers, and they were an e-commerce company. And when you actually, to your point, do the surveys and tell them hey, these pants are awesome, but they stretch a little bit funny. Yeah. And the next round of pants, we're better. And I'm sweet.
It's
so this is a good thing, right? And as people like you starting companies, creating jobs, incredible.
Yes. We created a lot of jobs in COVID. I'm sure e-com companies created way more than sort of wholesale historic businesses. We were on a hiring spree.
Yes. So Facebook enables that, right? At the same time, the more of these little companies that sprout up, Facebook's monopoly gets bigger, which is probably a net negative. So what are your thoughts on that? That's
I think that's the big push and pull. And I think you're seeing it it's clear on the ad side. I think that the one that people will start paying attention to is the payment side as well, because people get how Facebook and Google and to a lesser extent Amazon make money. The thing that people miss is if you're not those three companies and your business and your pitch to investors is that you're making money around e-commerce, it's on payments. So whether that's Shopify or Stripe or PayPal or Square or whoever it is, all these players are saying that they're going to make money on payments.
Big investors aren't looking at Andy and saying, this is my go-to. They're looking at a payment company that's helping the Andys and the Hubbles of the world make money. Is that what you're saying?
You can either be an ad platform for brands or you can be a capital provider for brands. And most people, and most of the entities in the, 50 billion plus, weight class in this space are one or the other. And the payment side gets, if you what does payments really mean? Payments really means lending. you're integrating, you're providing a credit card processor. The way you really make money off of that is you're getting the small businesses or an independent brands, um, transaction data, and then you're extending them loans. So like this whole push pull of like supporting the little guy but also supporting the giant,
It's wild.
could you imagine more extreme dynamic of this? You have on the one hand, this is literally the most efficient system ever created to extend small loans and working capital to mom and pop businesses, whether they're digital or offline or both. And so it's great, and you literally couldn't replicate it. On the other hand, you just have these behemoths that have access to negative cost of capital money that are allowed to just shove it down everyone's throat all day. So yes, I think these exact kind of push and pull of the platform and everyone else. That's exactly the awkward tension.
I feel like I'm so curious your thoughts. I just feel like it's a good thing until Facebook and Apple get in a turf war, and then who's going to pay the price? Andy, I think, right? Like, what do you think?
I mean, it's funny because we're talking about the future, like this. The theme here is the future of buying, or the future of shopping, and I mean, well, first of all, it's just so opaque. But second of all, like I think in a lot of ways, there's going to be a reversion. I mean, maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but a reversion back to at least something that I feel basically where I come out on all of this is that I feel very thankful that Andy started when it did. I think it's becoming a lot harder to start a small business these days for all the reasons we've just described. And that's unfortunate. I think it should be going the other way. We should, there should be more small businesses because, like you said, they're great. I love supporting small businesses. I love that they pay attention to me. I love the value, like everything we've talked about. But I think it's really hard today. I mean, in some ways, the barrier to entry is lower than ever. There is capital going around. I feel like I get an email every day with people asking to give Andy money. Great, but like you have to spend it efficiently. You have to build a good business, and I think that's the part that's becoming. It's just tricky.